It is time for another professional match of StarCraft 2, and what I got for you today is a Protoss versus Terran on Honorgrounds LE. Easily the biggest map in the current map pool, so we'll see if that will come into play, because it looks like we are indeed seeing the cross-spawn locations. Regardless, in the bottom right corner, playing with the blue Terran pieces, we have none other than the Terran player known as Jjakji. And his opponent, spawning in the northwest corner, he's playing with Protoss, and he goes by the nickname of Patience. Now indeed, right, this map is absolutely massive, and generally speaking, when you do indeed see players spawn in the cross locations, in particular in Protoss versus Terran, you usually see reasonably greedy build orders. I mean, there's an in-base expansion that you can take really early on, there's also the outdoor one that's reasonably easy to defend, and on top of that, if you take control of the watchtower here, this entire area is basically filled with expansions, including 2 golden ones that are reasonably easy to take. Regardless, we'll keep an eye out on it, but already we can see Jjakji indeed go for that command center first. That looks like actually on the other end of the map, we do already see a Nexus go down as well. Regardless though, Jjakji, I actually remember watching him win a GSO Code S back in 2011, but he's always been participating. He's a very high level Terran player, and while he may currently be a little overshadowed by, for example, like Bjorn, Maru, Innovation, and even Alive, also TY has been playing very well as of late, Jjakji is definitely, I would say probably right below that skill level, okay? He's an extremely good Terran player, but he, you know, he hasn't been as dominant as he used to be back in 2011, which isn't too surprising, because I mean, staying dominant for that amount of time would be a little ridiculous. Now, Jjakji is indeed following this up with a whole lot of additional barracks now as well, so we'll see if he plans on getting aggressive. Not seeing any gases just yet, so yeah, with this third command, or this third barracks rather, going down as well, this is probably going to be some straight up macro focus style here, where he's probably going to be producing a bunch of Marines early on into the game. Now when it comes to prize money, because I know a lot of you love hearing that, in total Jjakji has earned roughly $118,000 just by simply tournament winnings alone, and of course that does include a lot of second places, third places, fourth places, and tons of online tournaments as well. Patience on the other end, I actually saw him win a Home Story Cup just a couple of months ago over in Germany. Definitely a very nice guy. I actually got to talk to him for a little bit. He definitely, you know, English isn't his strong suit, but he's definitely a very nice player. Very nice guy to talk to as well. And he's a very high-level Protoss player. I mean, in total, he's earned roughly $108,000. His Protoss versus Terran is currently at a 59% win rate, which is also very good. And, you know, I think we are in for a treat right here. But I guess the same can sort of be said for Patience, where he's maybe a little under the likes of, for example, Hero and Stats as well. Once again, staying at the top of your game for a long period of time is very difficult. We've only seen a handful of players actually manage to do so. In particular, players like, for example, Innovation, MVP, Nesty back in the day, he used to also win tournaments left and right. And of course, in Brood War, you've got a couple of big names like, for example, Flash and Jaedong and whatnot that have been absolutely dominant for years. But even them, they will sometimes, you know, slack down a little bit as well and, you know, start struggling in the matchups for just a couple of months. Regardless, both of these guys are very good, and I think we are indeed in for a treat, because we do see some very macro-focused style here out of really both of the players already. Both going for some very greedy economy play here. Patience recognizing exactly what is going on the other end of the map when he scouted that super early command center. And apparently, while the Marines are currently moving across the map, I highly doubt that they're going to be able to do all too much against this super greedy third Nexus. In particular, now that the Oracle is already coming out. An Oracle can kill roughly 8 or so Marines reasonably easily. So, you know, the Oracle alone will already be able to defend against that. Add to that, of course, the Mothership Core, and then also a couple of Adepts. I think that Patience will probably be alright. Now, there are quite a few Marines actually moving across the map, and this is a bit of an investment right now. I mean, Jjakji doesn't want to just randomly lose all of those. There is no stim pack or combat shield or anything on these Marines just yet, so that does mean that they will need to be taken care of. Ooh, nice one right there. Patience does decide to not go ahead and use the Revelation here, and instead save up some more energy and use the Oracle instead of offensively, defensively right here. But right now, Jjakji will indeed scout out that that third Nexus is already up. Photon Overcharge gets activated, and I highly doubt he's going to be able to do a whole lot right here. We do already see the follow-up right now as well on that production tab. We see a lot of additional tech being added on right now for the Protoss player in a red. Looks like there may be some additional threat here coming in. I guess he's just trying to bait some energy out of that Mothership Core. But already, though, these Marines are definitely, you know, not gonna be able to do all too much damage. In particular, if more and more Adepts get warped in, and of course, we do now also see that Oracle activating its ability, the damage output of all of these units are insane. As you may be aware, Protoss has got a lot of units that deal very well with Marines in particular. And it looks like even though these Marines were apparently very, you know, very ballsy for moving across the map, they will all end up falling, maybe? Nope, there we go. Ooh, man, that's a Marine shoulder right there. On some legs, apparently. Or actually, that may have been his gun. Regardless, on the other end of the map, we do see that continued macro here as well from Jjakji. He's adding on that, you know, this straight-up Marine Medivac kind of style. Really not a whole lot of Marauders here just yet. Now, of course, taking that victory on the other end of the map does allow Patience now to move across the map. But you gotta keep in mind, he does have that third command center out. And while the army supplies are currently still in favor right here of Jjakji, he does need to be careful because his units are very, very flimsy. They do now, of course, have got their Stimpak ready to go. And actually, these Adepts need to be very careful because there are way more Marines than they can deal with at this point in time. Yeah, the Shade does get cancelled there. Double Medivacs are in production. I think we'll see the introduction here of Widow Mines very shortly as well, now that this factory is also finishing up a reactor. But I mean, Jjakji will have to do something here, right? Already, that third command center, or rather that third nexus, has got some resource gathering going on, and that will shortly mean that while that, like, the third CC is only just now getting started, that will shortly mean that Terran is gonna have a ton of units that are ready to move across the map. But Patience, I mean, the longer time goes on, right, the more his income will become impressive, and the more scary all of these units will become here as well for the Protoss player in red. Now, apparently, the sneaky little probe that was trying to construct a pylon here didn't quite fall just yet, and it's going to be capable of putting another pylon here a little bit closer toward that natural, but of course, there's this huge crevasse apparently, and actually, that looked like a flamingo right there for a second. Am I the only one that sees a flamingo in that? Regardless, there are a lot of Protoss units here already, right? And this is the point where Protoss is just going to simply get so much economy. That third base is fully operational right now. It's going to be able to bring in a lot of additional resources, and apparently, it even now brings Patience to the point where he's not scared of fighting these Terran units head on. Of course, Jjakji, he knows very well that he's also in that economy deficit, so I was assuming he was planning to get a bit aggressive here to try and see if he could potentially be in an alright position, but once again, it looks like that Stimpak is being activated here just for safety's sake alone. At the same time, a drop will go down here to try and distract all of these units. The Photon Overcharge will soon be activating, target firing down on that Widow Mine very, very nicely. The Marines, however, are still here, but there is a single Widow Mine still ready to shoot at all of these probes here at a moment's notice. Two of them do end up falling here in total, but solid defense here by the Protoss player so far. Although he will need to figure out that this Widow Mine is right in his mineral line. I don't actually know. No, okay, he did put a cannon right next to it. I thought for a second that was a pylon, but he does need to get rid of that, because very shortly it will get a second hit off as well, and a couple more workers may end up falling. But so far, the defenses have been very good. Now, Patience is indeed adding on quite a few units. He's adding on actually a whole bunch of cannons here as well. So nice micro away there as well, actually, on the probes. Just trying to lose as few as possible, but also maintaining optimal mining time. And it looks like we are indeed like setting up for a very heavy macro game right now. We see the additional engineering base going down right now. Or actually, did he already? Yeah, no, he did already have a single one. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I did see some research going down already. I guess the follow-up is going to be some double upgrading here instead. But indeed, both of these players are playing pretty laid back right now. And somehow, some way, even though Patience has had that third base up for a very long time, Jjakji's macro has just been absolutely spot on. He's even got himself a whole lot of bunkers here at the front, so he's going to be able to salvage these if he so decides to do so, or if he so decides to choose, because of course, you know, there's going to be a lot of Protoss units moving across the map here very shortly, but at the same time, apparently Patience, wow, going for that big macro game, securing himself a fourth Nexus, and I think that, you know, maybe he moved across the map with, you know, some scouting units here, but for the most part, really not a whole lot has been done. Look at this defensive posture as well by Jjakji in his in-base expansion. He just simply got himself a lot of Marines here, a whole bunch of missile turret, and there is no way a War Prison will be able to do a whole lot. The fourth command center also going down. We see the robotics bay also in production right now. And once again, while Jjakji postured to move across the map here for just a little bit, he's once again going to sit back and try and macro up a bigger force. He's getting himself +2/+2 right now as well. New Oracle being produced just to make sure that those continued revelations can indeed go down. But so far, very laid back. keeping track with those Terran scans as well of the Protoss army positioning. And while there are a few Adepts now moving across the map, and apparently we do have that observer trying to get an eye on all of these units. I don't think he managed to spot that. Oh man, that is unfortunate right there. Look at that. Those units just barely snuck by that observer somehow, some way. But it may not very well matter because Jjakji is just once again moving back. We see more and more Adepts now also being warped in from this single warp gate. I think that Jjakji may just barely not have vision of this pylon as well as the gateway that are out here in the open. But of course, as soon as the Terran player moves out, right, that is also going to be the point in time where all of these Adepts will start moving across the map. It's basically what the Protoss player is trying to achieve at this point in time. Now, I think that this gateway will shortly be spotted. Maybe it won't actually. I wouldn't be surprised though if it does once he gets control of that watchtower. Oh, actually, wow, it just barely doesn't reach. Oh no, he does see it right now. I was gonna say, it just barely doesn't reach. But here we go. As soon as all of these Terran units move across the map, right, that's immediately when these Adepts go in as well. Other Adepts still hiding off in this corner, and a bunch of these Stalkers are moving across as well. Gotta be very careful here. If you are the Protoss player, you don't want to just randomly lose all of those units. Looks like the concussive shells have been researched as well, so a couple of these Stalkers will end up getting slowed down. Only a handful will end up falling here, but already quite a bit of damage is being done here by just 2 Adepts here, just slowing down this base. But shortly, the planetary fortress will finish up, and indeed, this planetary will be able to deal plenty of damage. You can see the splash damage there is pretty solid. At the same time, though, all of the Terran units have made their way across the map. There's very little splash damage available right now for Patience, although we do just about see 2 Colossi joining this battle here as well. Extended thermal lance, not quite done just yet, about halfway done, so that does mean that these Colossi will have a very difficult time dealing with all of these bio units. In particular, with so many Liberators up in the air, this is going to be a difficult fight to take. You need to make sure that you don't fight in those liberation zones, but slowly the Terran player is pushing the anti-ground mode further and further along. Look at that, he's slow pushing. That's absolutely brilliant. This does, of course, give a lot of time. There we go, nice snipe there, but of course, gotta be very careful here. There's not a whole lot of energy anymore remaining on those sentries, and while there are a whole lot of Stalkers here, I wonder if this army is big enough. You do see that range research is very, very solid, and of course, this will give the Terran a beautiful moment as well to go for a massive drop into the main base of the Protoss player. Protoss completely off guard by this at this point in the time. The first robotic facility immediately ends up falling, so no more additional Colossi production for the time being. And look at those, once again, those Liberators doing so much work, just simply shutting down all of this aggression. The Adepts are desperately trying to close the distance as well, but that drop was not expected. At the same time, a bunch of Marines and Marauders have made their way towards the 4th base location as well. And while this is going on, while there was a little bit of aggression here as well, on the other end of the map, Terran is getting a huge lead at this point in time. 23 workers have gone down. This 4th base may very well end up falling here as well. And while Patience was keeping track very nicely of his opponent's army, all of a sudden this is looking very, very scary. Now the question is Terran not overextending? I don't think so. He's gonna be able to start target firing down the Nexus here in the main base as well. It looks like it may very well end up falling there. Nice last final hit there. Shuts down the mining at that base as well. And 26 workers in total end up falling here for the Protoss player in red. Now, the question is, did Jjakji not commit a little bit too much to this aggression? Because you gotta keep in mind, there are still a lot of Protoss units here ready to go. They are very well upgraded, they do a lot of damage, and with units like these falling for practically free, all of a sudden this might be turned around. I mean, there are a lot of army units right now, right? And the army supply advantage is actually right now in favor of the Protoss player. Of course, he doesn't have that big of an economy here anymore, but with proper control, of course, these Protoss units can get a ton of value. This is actually not game over just yet. Look at the amount of units that are still available here for our Protoss player. While the Terran was most definitely taking a solid engagement, and the longer that game goes on right now as well, the bigger the advantage will become. Just simply, you know, Jjakji macroing up a larger force. This is not GG just yet. A lot of sentries moving across the map right now as well. Fort Nexus not being retaken, so that does mean that Patience will more than likely be looking to close out the game right here, right now. Once again, blink backwards right there as soon as he got himself some damage done on those Liberators. I guess he's waiting for those sentries here to come as well. Nice ghost EMPs though, slowing down the energy there, but it looks like they did end up missing the sentries here. And with so many additional sentries reinforcing, this fight may actually go in favor of the Protoss player. Absolutely wild match here so far. This fight is so difficult to call. Both players taking a ton of losses here, and I think that just barely, actually, the Protoss player may be able to come out ahead. Brilliant target firing there on the Liberators, and with those Medivacs going down earlier into this battle, somehow, some way, Patience manages to clean up all of those Terran units, and I guess with just very solid upgrades here, he somehow, some way managed to secure himself that advantage. +3/+3, not quite done just yet for Jjakji, and I guess that is what ended up costing him quite a bit of potential damage. Once again, beautiful force building there, splitting off all of these Terran reinforcements, and while the Medivac will be able to pick up a couple of them, the Stalkers are also target firing it down, and slowly but surely, it looks like all of these Protoss units are starting to overrun the Terran's blue base. Question is though, is he still gonna be able to clean this up? I mean, there is a ton of Terran production here. All of these Protoss units are starting to run very low. The Guardian Shell is working out, but somehow, some way, Patience managed to take that engagement, and he ended up obtaining the victory. Man, the supply counts were heavily in favor right there of Jjakji, but I think when he lost like 4 Medivacs with a bunch of units right out on the, I guess right above the 4th base location here of the Terran player, I guess when he lost those units right there, that fight began to be significantly more difficult. And also, brilliant control during that engagement right there by Patience, microing his units back from the Ghost EMPs, target firing down all of those Liberators, microing back the Colossi to try and make sure that the extended thermal lens was doing as much damage as they possibly could, and well-deserved victory right there. I mean, a slight overextension by Jjakji, and it immediately took the victory out of his hands. So I hope you enjoyed watching this game as well. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below. If you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And other than that, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, alright? And I will see you in the next one.